Some of the games Chard and I bought this year are hot garbage. Which ones? Well, if you don't listen to the episode, you might be missing out. Fear of missing out. Today on... Don't FOMO over my intro, man. Welcome to another episode of Press Me to Cancel Your Favorite Podcast, or else. I don't know what we're doing. Chard, it's just me. It's just me and you this week. And honestly, you and me, I think we just need an excuse to talk about games we bought recently. Because again, we've said in the last few episodes, we have a problem. The problem, we keep buying freaking new games when we have a backlog of stuff to play. How you doing this week?
Doing all right. What do they say? Like to conquer your fears, you have to face them head on. Well, I face them head on with my debit card.
if there's a way to spend my way out of this backlog, I'll do it. That's true. All right. So this week we do want to talk about FOMO, or the fear of missing out, which is it's a marketing tactic, and it's a pretty effective one on some people. Not all of our crew, but definitely you two. That's us two for sure. So, I mean, this is the thing. Fear of missing out, or FOMO tactics. Every company does it, and not just in gaming, but we're going to obviously focus on gaming. But I wanted to start off with a couple company examples of how they use FOMO to get people to buy their shit. And that's what it is. We're sorry, YouTube. It's been more than 7 seconds, I hope. So the first one is Sony PlayStation, actually. So I've avoided buying not just PlayStation, but PlayStation and Xbox for the last couple generations, mostly because I'm a pretty hardcore PC gamer, because it's Steam sales. It's cheap, they're available. Most everything I want to play is on PC. But Sony, though, for the last couple of years, has definitely had some console exclusives I've been envious of, until just recently, when they've started to release some of them for PC. Ghost of Tsushima, Last of Us, a few others. Why did they do that, though? It's a bit more sinister than you might imagine. In an interview last week, GameSpot reported that one exec at Sony they spoke to said they're happy to release their previously console exclusives onto PC, at least the first one. What their plan is, or what the idea of what they're doing is, they release the first one on PC, and then they hope that gamers are so enthralled, are so into that game franchise, that they won't wait for the sequel to come to PC. They'll jump at the chance to play it on console, because Sony's plan, much like other companies, is release the game on console first, and then a year or so after, then release it on PC. They're not the only ones that do this, but specifically Sony knows the franchises they have are quite good. They're critically acclaimed, and they know they can hook players if they get that taste. They get that little taste. And then if you want that sequel, you're going to go buy a PlayStation. And I'll admit, I'm almost there. And during the pandemic, there's a few moments where I wanted to buy a console. I almost bought an Xbox, and I almost bought a PS5 at two separate occasions. And I was thwarted because you couldn't find one, right? They were in short supply.
Yeah. And that's the hang up, right? Like the argument about it is they're releasing all these exclusive games, but they were making it for a console that was impossible to get your hands on. So it's not the consumer's fault that they can't get their hands on the items. They couldn't make them fast enough for people to purchase them. And people got burnt out on waiting for them to come out. So all these exclusives sat forever, and we're just staring at our PCs, still waiting for Bloodborne to come to our goddamn PCs.
Well, and that's one of the notable ones where it's just, that's got to come to PC at some point. It's got to. But I mean, at this point, if they did a Bloodborne remastered, why not just do it for the PS5, right? You're going to hook people. Because now these consoles are fairly widely available. If I wanted to buy a PS5 or an Xbox, I probably could tomorrow. Just walk into the store and pick one up. That wasn't the case even a year from now. But we're kind of so far deep into the generation of this console war that I don't, or even a war, this console generation that I don't, at this point, it's almost too late to even bother investing in a console. I don't think I need to. I think at this point, I could probably wait until the next generation of consoles. And by that point, maybe I won't care. Because the thing I've noticed with this generation of consoles is there's a certain limit of fidelity you get in gaming graphics, and it's kind of already peaked. Like, I don't need 4K. I really don't. Like, I have an ultra-wide monitor, and it's nice if a game supports it, but I don't need it. So there's not much there over the PC. So I don't know. So I think at this point, a lot of gamers are kind of just taking a pass in the console generation if they haven't already got into it already by this point. So Sony and Xbox kind of look for ways to get attention from PC gamers and bring them over to their side. And it's tough. The other example I wanted to bring up was Rockstar. And I forgot about this one, but then when I realized what they're going to do, it pissed me the hell off because I've been playing Grand Theft Auto 5 recently on the Steam Deck. Works great, by the way. And what they did, and what they always do, they did it with Red Dead 2, they did it with GTA 4, if I'm not wrong, and they did it with GTA 5, famously. Rockstar will release Grand Theft Auto on the console first, and then after a year, maybe two, then they'll release it on PC. And when they were asked recently in an interview, well, it's been, multiple years since GTA 5. Do you plan to release simultaneously Grand Theft Auto 6 next year on console and PC? And the executive was very coy in saying, we haven't even announced our PC release, as if they may not do a PC release. Because they damn well know they're going to, but they don't have to do it at release. Because you're going to buy, if you're a really diehard fan and you can't wait, you're going to buy it on console. 2 years later, you're going to see all your friends modding the hell out of it or playing at extra high-res graphics on PC, and you'll buy it again. You'll double dip. And that's a huge problem. And I see why they do it, but it sucks. So I don't know. Like, what do you like, Chard? You have at least you have a PS5, right? You don't have an Xbox, I don't believe, right? You have the PS5 and a PC.
I have the older Xbox, but I did not get the Xbox X that was released when the PS5 came out. I was gifted the PS5, so I didn't even go get it myself. It was a gift for a birthday present. But I love it. I love having it. But on the fidelity thing that you were talking about, I didn't want to interrupt you because you were on a good tirade. There's a lot of the times when I'm playing anything on the Xbox, on the PlayStation 5, where on my PC I can change my video performance down to the pixel. It feels like, you change I've got a 1440 curved monitor that I use right here that I love, and I got a 1080 that I use for streaming and things and for the podcast, stuff like that. But I can tweak Alan Wake. I can tweak I can tweak Horizon Forbidden West on here down to like the smallest minute detail where it still looks amazing, but it doesn't have to run as much power, right? On my PlayStation 5, it feels like there's performance mode and graphic mode. And when you play on performance mode, and it could just because my monitor, I don't know, because they have the HDR stuff, a bunch of things that may not be compatible with the current setup that I have. But I noticed that when I run on performance or balance, it's got the 60 frames. It looks fantastic. But when you run it on like graphic mode, it's like 30 frames, but it looks beautiful. So it's like it's hogging itself. The game looks fantastic. And don't get me wrong, even in balanced or in frame rate mode, it still looks good. But it cannot look as good as my 4070 can make the games on my PC with 60 frames on top of that. It just seems to be like you can take off like blooming, you can take off film grain or lens flares and all that stuff. But on my PC, I can take out one of those things and still keep what I want to add to the ambiance of the game. So it seems like there's not as much to adjust on the PS5.
And it sucks because on PC that can get you that little oomph of using your processing power. I mean, I do that on the Steam Deck quite a bit for certain games, right? I love being able to change, how much grass or foliage there is in a world because it saves me 5 frames if I want. And I'm not really hung up on frames per second so much, but we're at this point in gaming where 1080p 60 should have been standard years ago. Like it's that's why PC has been such a great value, because it's so easy on most hardware these days to get 1080p 60. And I'm not talking top line video cards. I mean, you and I are lucky to have decent video cards now, but I was on a 1650 Super for 5 years, I think, and 1080p 60 was never an issue. But then I look at the PS5 and the Xbox X, and they struggle with that, and they shouldn't be. Like, I mean, the consoles should be able to do a certain base level of graphic fidelity with performance at this point in age. Like, I struggle to see what the difference there is between a PS4 and a PS5 a lot of the time. And same thing for what the hell Xbox calls their consoles. And that's kind of a shame. So you have both a console and a PC. You definitely have a great PC, and a PS5 is also a great console. Don't get me wrong. Have you ever felt the need to buy a game twice? Have you ever bought a game on the PS5 and bought a PC game?
Yes, I have.
Which one?
I have. Final Fantasy Remake 7 was purchased many moons ago on my Xbox, my PlayStation 4 when it was first, released. I bought it on that. And then I got the PS5, and you can get the upgraded. Now the benefit to PS5, the whole backwards compatibility, whatever, but there's
Right.
forward compatibility with the PS5, at least with Sony, where if you purchase a game that has both been updated for PS5 graphics and you bought it for the PS4, you drop $10. Ghost of Tsushima is a perfect example. You drop $10 on that, you get the PS5 version with the upgraded graphics and all the upgraded stuff that comes with it. And I got the director's cut of Ghost of Tsushima
Right.
for an extra $10 to run it on there. So I can play the
Okay.
upgraded version of the game on the PS5. But I did buy the Final Fantasy VII remake, and I wanted to play it on my Steam Deck. So I got it on my Steam Deck. A lot of the times when I double dip on something, it's so I can play it on my Steam Deck.
Right.
Though it is the greatest invention to man, in my personal opinion, for people like you and I who are avid gamers, but also have full-time jobs and families. And it's
Right.
difficult to come into your office and just blow out the world for a little while and run around and do some shooting or whatever, or some puzzle solving, when you could just sit on your couch and fire that thing up.
Yeah.
It's available, it's there. I'm on my couch, and it's also the window. And the FOMO doesn't help, to bring it back around for the FOMO discussion. When you can get the thing on your Steam Deck while you're sitting down on the couch, that doesn't help. That's not helpful at all. I mean, it is, but not for my wallet.
No, and that's the beauty of what Valve made in the Steam Deck. I mean, they've done a few choices with that have made it very clever. One is they've kind of said, this is a device to get. Don't worry about next year's Steam Deck 2. They're not playing that hardware game. They never do. They may release one, several years from now, but they're pretty happy with the hardware they've created. So what they've given you is a hardware that is priced, it's expensive, but for what it is, pretty affordable, and it's directly tied into the Steam store. And that means every goddamn sale is front and center at the start of when you boot it up, and you can see all the sales. Like right now, I mean, they have Steam Next Fest, which thankfully is free demos of stuff. But I'm just scrolling through the store and saying, "Yep, want that, yes, this, please, that." They made it so seamless to buy things; it's dangerous. But at least Steam is, like we've said before, a lot of the games we purchased this year were on sale. So my example of something like this, where it is like years ago, I put off buying the Steam Deck when you guys did. One of the reasons why is I was heavily using my Switch. I love the Nintendo Switch. It was a great console, and it was particularly good for indie games. There's tons of indie stuff for small studio games on there, and they were not full price. They're always cheap. It was fantastic, but they're always a little bit cheaper on Steam, and that's the problem. And so when I got the Steam Deck, I realized a lot of the games I love playing on my Switch. The battery life wasn't as good over there, and I didn't want to keep buying stuff on that system. It doesn't help that my daughter has a Switch as well, and you can't play at the same time on both Switches without some headaches. So there's a few games where I've kind of repurchased them for the Steam Deck. I don't pay full price. I try not to, but I might have bought the entire Shantae franchise on Steam Deck this week because it was like half off. They go half off once a year, and it's worth picking those games up. I love them, but I have them on Switch as well, so I feel like I double dipped there. But I really try not to do that. I think the only time I double dipped outside of that was Skyrim, like where I bought the original years ago, and then I bought the remastered, and then I bought the stupid VR version when that was out. So I do try and avoid the double dipping for sure.
I did the Fallout double dip, but I did the Fallout TV show bump that everybody did. I've beaten Fallout 3. I
Right.
have 4, and I have 76. I have 76 still in the cellophane on my on my shelf here for my PlayStation 4 that my wife bought me for Christmas. And after I was done with the show and I saw the updates that they had done, and it was how much for all 3? $20 for all 3 of
Right.
them.
Yeah.
You can't see, and it's not. I mean, that's not FOMO. That's a deal. The problem is, when am I going to play it, Jake? When am I going to play it? We were joking about it the other day that I purchased Stellar Blade not too long ago. It's a Soulsborne / Nier style fighting game that's only on PS5. It is a PS5 exclusive right now. It's a total Waifu simulator game, but it's
Yeah.
cool. It's got great graphics. The combat's dope. It's a lot of fun, and it's got a pretty good story from what I got into so far. So I just purchased that. You were giving me shit about it. like we do, because that's what Jake and I do. And you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But it was a belated birthday gift for myself because I wanted to buy it on my birthday because it came out the day after my birthday, and I just never got around to doing it. But what was I playing instead, Jake? Dark Souls 3.
Right. Which is a game you've beaten. You beat it already. I mean, to be fair, you're doing the DLC, which I said I think you never did that before, and that makes sense.
I hadn't played that before. But now what am I playing? I'm playing Elden Ring. But that's because the DLC's coming out, so I'm getting ready for that kind of run. So it's new stuff. So it's not like I'm going, hey, you know what? I'm gonna buy this really cool game, and now I'm gonna play Middle Earth: Shadow of War.
Yeah.
For no reason, like, you know what I mean? Even though I also bought that sometime this year for $5. But
yeah, well, like it's been weird, right? So last year was pretty packed with new releases that are all fantastic, right? You had Alan Wake 2 and Baldur's Gate 3, of course. We talked a lot about that one, and just there's a lot of great games last year, and there's a lot that I never got around to buying or playing. So I've been kind of picking them up this year when I can. There's a few that I've been putting off because I don't want to pay full price for them, like there's a Yakuza, the Yakuza sequel, Infinite Wealth. I don't want to pay $90 Canadian for that game. I'm sure it's great, but I just, for an RPG that's going to take me 60, 70 hours, I don't need it right now, especially when I just beat Remake as well. So I'm trying to put off some purchases, but then there's some where I just buy, I don't know. I bought Dragon's Dogma 2, and I'm trying to figure out why I bought it. Maybe because the first one was so well liked in hindsight. It's almost like a cult classic, especially with the DLC when that one came out. So when they announced the second one, and I saw people playing online, social media is a big problem with FOMO I have too, where it's like you see other people playing this game, and it feels like you're in the moment this game is going to be the next big thing, right? Game of the year, even though it's not. And I saw a scene where a guy was playing the Dragon's Dogma 2, and he was attacking a griffin, and then he climbs the side of the griffin onto its back, and it takes off and starts flying out to the ocean. And he's just wailing with a sword on the back of the griffin. And eventually the griffin knocks him off, and he starts falling. And when he falls, he lands in a village on a house, and he lands on his henchman and manages to survive like a 10-story fall. That moment was hilarious to me, and I'm like, I gotta play this game. I have to play it. Right. It's probably all full of moments like that, and it's gonna be fantastic. So I bought Dragon's Dogma 2. And it's not bad. It's not a bad game. I don't think it's a $70 good game though. Or at least not a game I should have bought for $70 or $90 Canadian. It's my problem with Dragon's Dogma 2 is kind of what gameplay there is cool, but there's a very much of a lack of enemy variety types. Like once you've climbed one ogre, you've climbed 20 of them, and it doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel as engaging or as magical the 20th time you do that. And that's a problem with that game. There's also like no dungeons in Dragon Dogma 2. It's just caves, and they all look the same. It's not like Elden Ring. I thought maybe it'd be like Elden Ring where you have a huge map of things to explore. When you're exploring Elden Ring, there's different biomes. Different areas look very distinct from one another. And like the dungeons and stuff, maybe you might see the same tile set and stuff, but the bosses are all unique and there's different setups. It's a very unique and varied game in Elden Ring. It's not like that in Dragon's Dogma 2 at all. Combat is great, but it's very repetitive with what you find. So I kind of wish I didn't fall for the hype on Dragon's Dogma 2, because nobody's talked about that game now. Nobody. Like, even if they release a DLC, which may be coming, I don't think it's going to be taking off like the first one did. So
yeah. Sinistar, he got Dragon's Dogma 1 for him and I played a few minutes of it on my Steam Deck, but I wasn't like totally torn. I wasn't like, I really want to play this right now. It was more or less he and I were like, hey, we're going to play open world games. Here's an open world game, and the new one's coming out here pretty soon. Let's check it out. So we checked it out. We played it. And then 2 came out, and I was like, I barely touched 1. Yeah. I played maybe 15 minutes of 1, but the way you were talking about it was like, I'm going to go buy this goddamn game, Jake. Stop talking about it so much. But he would say the same thing every time. You get to do all this cool stuff. You get to climb on these, and you get to ride these things, but don't buy it. Don't buy it. But then you get to do these really cool fights, and you're climbing up the back of ogres, and you're stabbing them in the head, but don't buy it.
Don't buy it.
But you keep giving me reasons to buy it. Stop giving me reasons to buy it. Don't
I'm
tell
just
me
trying
all
to
this
save
cool
you.
shit and you say don't buy it.
I'm gonna tell you
never
another
did.
one that's like that for me. It's in 1 week span we had like 3 really amazingly well critiqued and reviewed indie games came out. Animal Well was one of them, which I spoke about in previous podcasts, and I don't regret buying Animal Well at all. Great game. The other one I bought was Crypt Master, I think it was. It's Crypt Keeper or Crypt Master. I want to say Crypt Master. It's a dungeon crawling game, first person dungeon crawl. It's all black and white, which is a weird aesthetic. And you have then the I don't want to call him a dungeon master, but it feels like that because he's narrating everything as you go. He's constantly talking to you and speaking for whatever you do as you're exploring the dungeon. And you basically type to talk to him. And the word list, like I thought it was AI, like ChatGPT at first, but it's not. The creators confirmed it's just a large database of words, and they had a guy record a ton of voiceover for every possible combination. But to give you an example, there's these statues which recover your health when you find them. But when you first find them, you have to desecrate them. So you have to type in how you desecrate a statue. And the world's your oyster of your imagination when it comes to these statues. You want to piss on them? You did piss. You want to bleed? I did bleed the first time. You want to bleed on it? And it gives you a response unique to what you typed for almost everything. And it's pretty wild. Like there's treasure chests in the game. And when you go to the chest, you can get it. But he plays a word game with you where you have to guess what's in the chest. So you have to ask him for clues, touch it. What does it feel like? What's it sound like? What does it taste like? What does it look like? What do you remember? Any question you can think of, you're just asking them these one-word questions about this item, and then you have to type in the answer. It is cool as shit. It's probably one of the most unique games I've played in a long time. But I'm going to tell you, don't buy it. Don't buy it. Don't buy it because the black and white aesthetic is not the greatest. I mean, it's neat, but after several hours, it becomes kind of straining on the eyes. But also, I feel like it's a game where there's no replay value. I think once you beat Crypt Keeper or Crypt Master, I gotta look it up. Whenever you beat this game, I don't feel like there's a reason to go back and play it because you know the answers to all the chests. They're not random. You know the layouts of the mazes because they're not random. It's all fixed, it's handcrafted. And like there's a place for that kind of game, but without the replay value, that mechanic of just talking to the computer is so cool. But if it's not different every time, I feel like it loses a lot of its magic. So that's the game I bought recently.
Novel the one time kind of thing. Like it's a cool novel thing, but by the time you're done looking at graves and telling them what to do, you're just like, just let me in there. I don't care anymore. Like, just tell me what it is. I'm sick of your riddles.
It's easy to spoil it for yourself too. Like I watched a streamer playing it. Mel Plays Games, who's a great streamer. I watched her play a few minutes of it, and I had to turn her stream off because I'm like, this is cool as shit. I want to play this, but now I know the answer to this one chess puzzle. And sure enough, when I got to it, I'm like, yeah, I know what it is, and that was kind of off-putting for me. So, but it's good. But I mean, I bought it because of FOMO. There's all this hype, all this critical acclaim for it was like the indie darling week, man. Everybody was releasing an indie game. We got Hades 2 out of nowhere, right? Early access, but still well reviewed. Animal Well, and then Crypt Keeper or Crypt Master, and then I think there's a couple other ones as well too. Like there's been a real rise of indie titles that have just been stealing the show. And whenever I see an indie title that's like 90 plus on OpenCritic or Metacritic, I'm like, I should play it. I should get it. But for every one of those I get, I usually get one that's maybe a stinker. So what about you? Is there any games you bought that you kind of regret?
Do I regret? Maybe. So I have these a lot. Okay, I'm premising it with this. This is less of a FOMO, more of a I'm trying to find something to play on my Steam Deck that's not Liza P or Atomic Hearts or something, because those games look beautiful on my PC. Right. And there's just certain games that need to be played on your PC because the aesthetics are so nice that it's almost criminal to not play it at the highest possible value you can versus just me screwing around on my chair. Also, I want to point out that when I'm playing stuff on my Steam Deck downstairs, I'm really not paying attention to anything. I'm not. I don't have the sound up because my wife's usually watching something or she's on TikTok or she's talking to me and I want to be able to listen and pay attention to what she's saying so I'm not totally ignoring her. So I like to play kind of mindless bullshit while I'm on there. So a lot of the games that I'm looked at recently have been retro inspired kind of games. And I was really excited about these two because they were both kind of like a package purchase. One of them is called Vengeful Guardian Moonrider, which is almost kind of a shinobi type S game. It's
Okay.
recent. It's an indie game. It's recent, and you play like a cybernetic. It's like Cyber Shadow, but more shinobi than Ninja Gaiden.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yep. I've seen this
There's
one.
a
Yeah.
there's a motorcycle scene where it's a back shot and you're riding a motorcycle and you're shooting shit. And I saw that in the clips. And they got the cool rock music while you're watching, because I watch clips, right? I don't just that looks cool. I almost did that with Civ 6, and I've never played a civilization game in my life. And Civ 6 was $2. And I was like, Sinistar talks very positively about Civilization.
Oh yeah.
Maybe it's my thing, but I didn't. So be proud of me on that one. That and Rise of Nations, which is a great RTS. But
Yeah, Resident is good. But yeah.
so I picked this up and I was playing with it, and I was kind of like, this has some difficulty elements that I wasn't expecting in it. I wanted something kind of mindless and kind of just, I'm just gonna whatever. And it came with another game called Blazing Chrome, which is Contra. It's Contra. It is Contra, just under a different name and a different guise.
Right.
And I started playing that one after I was kind of upset about Moonrider, and then that one was kind of like, no, I spent $16 on both of them, so it's not like I broke the bank to get these two games. But I was just kind of like, but it was too late for me to like refund, and I feel bad refunding things. Like, you know what I mean? Like, these people
Especially
are
indie
making
games.
yeah, they're making it. This is their work, and if I don't like it, I shouldn't punish them because I was like, well, I chose poorly. They sold it to me very well, so they should keep what they sold for me because they did a good job on selling it.
They got you. Yeah.
But there's another one that I got that's Nyota, which I've seen everyone. Nyota, however you want to pronounce it. And I was hoping that was just gonna and everybody says in the reviews, I hate myself simulator. That's basically what this game is. Like, it's BDSM, but for gamers or whatever. And it is. This game kicks your ass. You get blown up by acid barrels and fireballs, but it's fun. It's fun to just go out there and die and then try and figure something out. But it is a math problem. If you really want to succeed in the game, you really have to like really understand what's going on. And every review is like, I sucked at this game until I didn't anymore. And it was just understanding what was going on. I've watched videos on it. I've watched people tell me what to do. There's like a 2-hour wand building video that I was like, what have I done?
You
I
watched
don't
that?
think I have. I didn't watch the 2 hours.
Okay.
No, I watched maybe the 30 minutes and went,
Okay.
oh, geez. Okay, that's dumb. But a perfect example of FOMO for me right now is Katana Zero, which I purchased, I believe, 2 days ago. I was looking up something else that Lord Optic and I were talking about, and I thought he called it Katana Zero. So I pulled it up on my Steam Deck, like you do. Was not Katana Zero, it was a completely different game. But Katana Zero had overwhelmingly positive reviews. It was $15 and it looked cool. And to be honest with you, it is a really cool game. But this game was not on my list. I just bought it. I just bought it on a whim because it looked neat, and it turned out to be really good. My wife, whenever if anything's over $25, that's when I usually go to the wife and say, "Hey,
Right.
I would like to purchase this game. Just so you know, if it shows up on the bank account, I'm planning on buying this." Most of the time I'll be like, "Hey babe, this thing's on sale. It's usually $50. I want to get it. I've been waiting for this to go on sale for a while." And she goes, "You've literally never mentioned that game to me once in my life since we had a discussion." And it's true, because I'm always either talking to you about it or have had it on my wish list for 2 or 3 years.
Right.
And I just been sitting there like watching the price drop. And I'd forget to tell her, "Hey, this has been on my wish list for like 3 years." She goes, "Yeah, you never mentioned that, so no." like if you talked about it more than just this one time, then yeah, but you have a problem. You have all these games you've always been waiting for to come out. Atomic Hearts was a perfect example of that, because I've been watching that one since it was released, and it's cool. I need to get into it a little bit more, but it's cool. But that's another game I want to play here. I don't want to play on my Steam Deck because it is gorgeous. and it looks really good on this curve monitor. Really good.
Yeah. When you said you bought Atomic Hearts, the first I was trying not to give you shit for it, because who am I to call shit for buying stuff you don't need? Because I'm awful too with it. But that's a game where when that came out, I almost bought it. But I'm like, no, you're gonna look at the reviews. You're gonna read the reviews and you're gonna see what they say. And if it's less than 80, not that less than 80 is a bad game, but you have a lot on your plate, and if it's less than 80, you're gonna pass. And I think it didn't do even that. I think it got 60 something, high 60s. Not bad. I'm sure it's a great game, but certainly not, the narrative game of the year or whatever. I'm trying to remember who made that one. I think, is it Ken Levine who did that one, like the BioShock guys?
I'd have to look because I don't know.
It was a well-known studio that did it, and I know there's a lot of hype for it when it came out, but the reviews were not kind. So I told myself I would wait until I have free time, if ever, and I would wait for a drastic sale. So unless it was drastically on sale, I wanted to pass. But it definitely looks nice. I'm with you on the graphics too. Like, I spend forever on my computers.
Mundfish is a developer, and the old reviews were very positive, and the recent reviews were mostly positive because the DLC is getting dumped on, but the base game has been getting great reviews.
Okay.
And with such great reviews, like can't have sex with robot ladies. How can you say no to that? Sorry, YouTube.
Sex sells. I mean, Steam certainly knows that lesson with me for half the shit it puts on my screen. It's embarrassing. But I'm with you on the graphics being a thing, because like I spend forever on my computer every day. I work in IT. I'm always on a computer. The last thing I want to do is just turn around my desk to my gaming computer and play games. I want to go upstairs. So I'm also with you on like using the Steam Deck for games. So I'll play most anything in the Steam Deck. Like, I'm playing Elden Ring online right now on the Steam Deck. It has some quirks, but it's been really great. 5 hours of battery life. It looks fine. I mean, it's a 10-year-old MMO. It better look fine. But I've been playing a lot of that, and I'm loving it.
Wait. You've said Elden Ring online. I think you mean Elder Scrolls.
Elder Scrolls online. I mean, they're all the same. I mean, they both have such deep lore.
Excuse me.
Elder Scrolls, you're right. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, no, there's no Elden Ring online. Not yet anyway. But Elder Scrolls Online, I've been playing a ton of, and there's a lot of chapter DLC that's been released over the last few years since I last played, and it's been great story-wise. So I've been playing that, and because it's an MMO, it has a certain mindless quality to it that's perfect for the Steam Deck. But there's one game I bought, which is Ghost of Tsushima, which, like you said, looks beautiful. Like, it's a stunning, immersive-looking game. It technically runs on the Steam Deck, but I don't want to play it on the Steam Deck because it runs like shit. I mean, it runs really low res. It looks amazing on my widescreen monitor, and I really want to play on a big screen. So I was trying to, because one thing you can do with the Steam Deck is you can stream from your gaming PC to your Steam Deck. It depends on the Wi-Fi in your house. And my Wi-Fi is usually okay, but there's certain spots in my house where I can't get a signal. So when I had it hooked up to the TV, I couldn't get the damn thing to load, and it was really frustrating. So I have not even touched that game. I bought it. I have every intention of playing it, but I will play it when I can have it look good, whenever that is. I don't know. It's just a game that's sitting in my backlog I feel bad about. I did want to touch on indie games. I'm with you. There are so many indie games, and a lot of them are $15. I usually don't think twice.
Right.
Because I want to support indie game creators, especially the ones that are brand new or are very promising to see in shows. Like games like Tunic, I think are fantastic. Whatever Finji releases in the future, I'll buy. I don't care how bad it is, because I want to reward that dude. I got so many hours of joy at a Tunic, and it was like $15-20 at the most. Like, I feel like I ripped him off. It's so funny. And even when an indie game is bad, I hate refunding indie games because they are so cheap. And the last thing I want to see is a review on Steam where somebody's played a game, beaten it, but because it's a shorter game, it's under the 2 hours, they've beaten it and they refunded it. I find that so vile. So I hate that. So I'm with you. Yeah.
Summer of '58 did that. There was a big thing about people would buy because it's like a 2-hour game, maybe.
Yeah.
You can stream it in a set. We streamed it in one sitting and got the whole thing done. But it was so good. If I buy something, I'm committed to it. Even if I'm like, this is trash, I'm going to commit. Unless it's like a AAA, like if it was Skull and Crossbones, that motherfucker would be on the broken ass boat that it came on back to that studio. But it was a short game, but we had fun playing it, and it's great. And people refunded the dude that he went fucking bankrupt.
Yeah, which is awful, right? Yeah.
It's bullshit. Like,
Yeah.
let the guy have. If you enjoyed it, keep your cash. Don't be a
Yeah.
dick about it. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm with you. So there's some games where and there's some indie games which are just not games for me, right? Like the one that I thought I would really be behind was Turbo Kid, which is runs great on the Steam Deck on PC. It's like a post-apocalyptic Metroidvania. It's based off of a really campy, cheesy movie of the same name. On paper, it hits all those boxes. Me and Wolf bought it. I swear I would have loved this game. I just can't get into it. Like you ride around the apocalypse on a bicycle. The gameplay on the bicycle is rad. It feels awesome, but the shooting and the constant combat is just not my jam. It's not bad. It's just not for me. And I feel awful that I bought it. I wish I didn't buy that one, but I'm not going to refund it because that's fuck that. It's stupid. But it's a game where I bought it because on paper, all the hype on social media, Wolf bought it, said it looked great. I'm like, you know what? I'm all about these indie games. I've been on a really good run of good indie games lately, so I picked it up and I kind of regret it. But it was that and Noita. I bought Noita as well, and Noita's neat, but I don't know if it's for me. So
it makes me sad. It's a lot. It's a lot to get into, and it's so much deeper than what the surface is. And I'm constantly looking for a Balatro's deep too. Let's not split hairs here. Balatro was super deep, but
yeah,
it's a quicker pickup. It's a quicker, okay, I understand this. I'm getting this. This makes sense to me now. Okay, and you're good to go. Neota takes several. It just sounds like Balatro's easier than Neota, and it's not. It's just
no,
different, And it takes, you take a couple runs at a card deck, but you're done pretty quick. Neota is like, I've got spell casting time I've got to worry about. I've got recharge time I got to worry about. I got all these extra shit that I'm pulling off of this one to put on this one to make the ultimate one. But if I don't put this on here, the one will explode and kill me. If I put this on here, then it doesn't. There's just a lot to it. That's a lot more than, should I get this Joker or that Joker? You know what I mean? So I'm just trying to find something that I can just brainlessly sit in bed before I go to sleep to make my brain kind of wind down and I could pass out. And there's a few that I got, but I can't, Power Wash Simulator is a perfect example of a game that I'm just going to play to kill some time. I'm going to watch The Time Machine from Back to the Future and then go to bed. It's good to go, but I don't want to play like Quantum Break and be totally invested in a story and then have to try to sleep after that, because as soon as I
right.
lie down, I'll be like, what does that character do? Then the lore starts spinning in my head. I'm trying to match people up on who they are and what they're doing. So Elden Ring is also a poor game to play before you go to sleep.
So you said Power Wash Simulator. That's a good example of a certain type of game that's been on the rise the last couple of years. It's the meme games, right? The meme games. The I don't know what to call them. They're meme games, right? I mean, for a while, I don't want to call Helldivers 2 a meme game, but Power Wash
I
Simulator,
think it was
Goat
it's
Simulator,
less of a meme game, but it's a meme now. Like when it came
or the
out, it
fad.
was
Yeah.
yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah, like the one that I think we all fell for. Well, maybe not fell for. I mean, I got my money's worth as far as I'm concerned, which was Pal World, which is basically Pokemon with guns. I mean, how can you not love that as a concept? And I think for a hot minute, everybody was playing that game, and I mean everybody. I think it hit 50,000 concurrent on Steam, like 50,000 players for Pokemon with guns. It has since nosedive in the number of players, but it still has fans. Summer Games Fest was this past week, and they got announced that they're doing DLC, a whole brand new map, which for that kind of game is what you want, right? So, but Pal World is a game I think we all bought. I think we all played it a bit, some more than others, and I think we've all kind of given up on it.
Pal World takes a time investment that I am not able to commit to. Pal World is
Right,
a great game and it's great with friends and it's a lot of fun, but I can't offer. It's like Arc. Like I can't offer the amount of
right,
time that is required to make it like I'm not a good teammate. Let's just say it that way. I don't have enough time to be a good teammate to go and farm resources and build parts of the base and all this other stuff. So I feel guilty when I play it because I'm like, I can't do this. I don't have time. And there's other things that I want to play and want to do. As fun as that game is, it still is. I feel like I can't commit to it as much as I'd like to with other people that are playing it. You know what I mean?
right.
So it's that whole, it's the meme where the dude's walking down the street with his girlfriend and he turns around and he's looking at a girl passing him kind of thing. And it's like the girlfriend is Pal World and I've got Erdtree, like I'm looking at
Right.
Erdtree, because that's how I feel. Like I'm like, oh, I want to play Liza P instead of this, something like that. So Power World's a great game. I would gladly get into it if I did not have literally 80,000 other games that are on my list that I want to at least accomplish. I mean, Alan Wake just got its new DLC for Night Springs, which is
Right.
freaking amazing, and I can't wait to get into that. But that means I need to play Alan Wake 2, but because of the character coordinations in Night Springs, I have to play Control and Quantum Break. I mean, there's a lot that I don't have to, but they're part of the whole thing. And if I want to do it right, and understand where all these people from, Jake, I've been listening to lore videos on YouTube and Spotify for Elden Ring and Alan Wake and all these other things because I'm tired. Sometimes you just want to listen to podcasts, but the podcasts I want to listen to aren't podcasts. They're videos on YouTube. So, it's just, there's so much goodness out there, so much fun stuff. I got RimWorld for the same reason, as I just wanted something to just sit down and just not think about. And that game is so much bigger than it is that I can't give it the time to make it be what it should be, instead of just, oh, my people are surviving. Bridget, our friend Bridget, has a sprawling kingdom that she's created as a gun runner on a planet and an organ harvester and all this terrible things that you can do to it. And I'm just like, I don't have the time to commit to that kind of stuff. So what do? I go hide in my Soulborns game. I go hide in Elden Ring. I go hide in Dark Souls because I can commit my time to that because I'm good at them, not to pat my own back, but I'm good at them and I can get places in them. And it's fun to talk about because I understand them. This other stuff, I'm like, I need a tutorial. I need like Sinistrus literally sitting next to me, holding my hands, pointing where everything is. Cause I'm like, oh, there's a lot going on here. So.
Yeah, so RimWorld, that's one I've avoided. I've almost picked up a few times. I'm glad I don't, because that is also a game that gets a DLC or an expansion like every year, and that the price racks up. And they always add something really cool, really awesome. And I feel like if I buy RimWorld, I'm going to want to buy the entire package. And I'm going to hate myself if I do. The one game that's also like that was Stellaris, which came out, I think, 10 years ago. And it was okay when it first came out at launch, but they definitely added a lot to it in patches. But now it's become a game where it's almost like games as a service. They add a new expansion like every 6 to 9 months. And it's
like No Man's Sky version?
But it's like
charge for it.
They charge for it. Like there was definitely free updates, but they also charge for the DLC. And the reviews on the DLC, if you look at Stellaris DLC, sometimes it's great, and a lot of the time it's negative because people are tired of paying for this stuff, especially for what you get in some of these expansion packs. It got to the point where I think you can pay for a monthly fee just to play everything at once and just not worry about buying stuff. Wow. But it's a 4X game, right? It's like Civilization. It's like, these epic world simulation games where you're building a whole empire in space. It's kind of weird playing that and paying a monthly fee. I don't know. It doesn't really jive with me. But that's a game where I've like put it off because to buy everything, I think it's like $300 if you buy everything, which is stupid, right? Like nobody's going to want to do that. But I mean, if you are a Stellaris fan and you love 4X games in space, like this is your thing, and they're just feeding you every year something new to add to it. But games that get frequent updates can be really off-putting to me if it's too much. Like we were playing Helldivers 2 beginning when that came out. Like everybody was playing Helldivers 2 for a while until Sony fucked with the momentum. But I stopped playing it not because of Sony's bullshit. I play on PC. I stopped playing Helldivers because I was tired of all the war bonds they release. They cost money, or you can use in-game currency to buy them, and they're basically small battle passes. That's what they do. Mm-hmm. It's done in the fairest way possible when it comes to a game like this, where you can pay the money to unlock the battle pass if you want, or you can find in-game currency fairly quickly if you play regularly and unlock it. The problem is they were releasing a new war bond like every 3 weeks, it feels like. It was at least once a month, if not faster. And there's so many of them. Do you need them? No. Like the weapons, and some of them are better than others. They tend to nerf it in patches anyway afterwards. So nothing is really critical. Like you can enjoy that game with the very basic weapons if you really want. but they're there and they're neat, and the FOMO kicks in, and you're like, well, maybe I should just play a little more and unlock it. But it was getting to be like my forever game. I don't want another forever game. I have too many games to play. I don't want to play Helldivers 2 every goddamn day to unlock these war bonds. So, and I think that's a problem a lot of folks have had with that game. But I mean, it's still hugely popular on Steam, but
it's a great game too, but it's the same, my issue is, nerfing the stuff so that people they want them to try other things, and that's fine. But my argument of like, why are you nerfing a weapon that's for PvE? Like if you're fighting other people, then that's fine. I don't know. I didn't burn out on Helldivers as much as I just wanted to do something else. I just was, it's that same meme where I'm like, oh, but this is coming out, I want to play that instead. Or I don't want to commit, just like you. I don't want to commit to a forever game when there's other things that I want to finish. Because if I wanted to commit to a forever game, I'd just go buy Final Fantasy 14 again and start playing that shit again. Because that's a forever game, and a phenomenal MMO, super fun. And I know people that play it, so I already got a crew that I can run with. But I don't want to commit to anything that doesn't have an ending. I have so many games that I have read about or seen about or been excited about, Alan Wake 2 being one of the top ones that I have waited for on release, that is just going to just blow my mind. And then I have RoboCop, Rogue City, because I wanted to be RoboCop.
You had that. Did you buy that, or was it gifted to you? You bought that one, right?
It was gifted to me, but I'll tell you what, it's so slow. It's so fun.
It's RoboCop. What do you want, man?
It's repetitive. It gets really repetitive, and I need to play it a little bit more so we can get a little further in and see how things get different. But I'm like, you can only blow away so many punks before you're like, okay, can I at least eat the apple with the baby food or something different? Like just do something a little bit different.
Where's the feeding simulator? Is there crafting in this one? No, you said Final Fantasy 14. That's the perfect example of a forever game, and a game where you play it and you feel like if you don't keep up in the patches and all the content, and you're keeping your gear score high, you can't do all the new raids and the new whatever they call the big boss battles. Like, it's a game that's deceptive, because I never got into WoW because of the rating that you had to commit to. But Final Fantasy 14 has those where you summon a monster and you have to fight it in an arena type battles, and they're really cool. But you do need to keep up on your gear to go through those. And I just could not spend the hours to do it. And like you said, the story goes on and on. It's great, but it never ends. Like, that's why I liked ESO, like Elden Ring Online, Elder Scrolls Online, because
to be fair, it's releasing in like 2 weeks, and that's
true.
I've been filling your head with Elden Ring. I apologize for that. It's my fault.
But Elder Scrolls Online, I mean, at least the chapter DLC for the most part are fairly standalone, or there's small arcs. So, like, I mean, the one that came out now is Gold Road, and it's a sequel to Neocrom, which is last year's expansion. I went through Neocrom in like 12 hours. Great story, self-contained. You can start with a brand new character there if you want. You can bring your existing character. Everything scales. It was very easy to get into, play the story, and now I'm doing Gold Road. I'll probably be done with Gold Road in a week, and I feel satisfied. I don't feel like I need to go back and play everything. It's not like I need. It's not like Final Fantasy 14 where you kind of want to play through everything, and you're kind of forced to play through everything to kind of get to the new stuff. Elder Scrolls doesn't do that. So I'm trying to avoid the MMO stuff, but I don't know.
And the drawback for me on some of the MMO, especially 14, is there's stuff way back when in earlier DLCs or earlier patches that I'm like the Kefka fight. Like I would fight Kefka day in and day out and do God Kefka and do all that stuff because that's my jam. That's my thing. I love that. But nobody wants to do it because it's 5 years old and there's new stuff to go and do. And you're like, I'm not interested in fighting Final Fantasy 8 people. I want to go back and fight the cool stuff that I found like earlier on. So, you sit in a queue forever just waiting for anybody that's like you that just wants to wet their whistle against Kefka, So, and the slog in between the DLCs where it's like,
it's the worst.
Unlike
the patch
ESO,
quests.
yeah, like ESO, like you said, they give you a game, you go at it, it's 12 hours, and you're good. You've had a nice meal, you've had a 4-course meal, you had a little dessert, and you're not too full, and you're happy, and you're good, and you don't need to have that for a while. This one is just like gorging on long-winded quests where it wants you to get ready for the release. I get the intention of all of it, but it's like
It's
now
too
that the
much.
release is 2 years old and I got to do this slog to get to that part, it's like, fuck, all right, I shouldn't have stopped. I should have just kept playing the stupid
Somebody
game.
on Twitter said Final Fantasy 14 Online is the game where it gets good after 200 hours. And that's so true, and it sucks that you can't skip
Really
anything.
opens up.
Yeah, it really opens up. Well, because that's the thing, right? Because the original game, the release that came out is fine. But yeah, once you beat the original content and you have the patch quest before Heaven's Ward, it is such a slog. I almost quit a few times, but then I'm like, well, you've come this far. You're missing out. You're missing out on that really great Heaven's Ward story. I'm like, all right. And when I eventually got there, it was good. But then you beat Heaven's Ward, and then you realize that the next expansion's a year away, and they filled you with months full of patch content that's boring as shit fetch quests. And you're like, what the hell am I doing with my life? That's why I stopped.
But you get flying mounts. I want that flying mount. Let me get that flying mount.
And unless you get to a new zone, then you have to grind the points to be able to use your flying mount in that zone. So you're like, well, I'm missing out if I don't get to unlock my flying mount in every zone. So I'm going to do that. MMOs are a whole fucking thing.
In each zone, that's a whole
sucks. ESO does it so much better. It's not as good gameplay wise, but I mean, the story at least is good. Well, we're almost on the hour. I did want to touch really quickly or briefly on hardware FOMO, because I've had a case of that. But I'll start with you, Chard. Is there any hardware you've bought where you feel like you didn't need it, but you're missing it if you didn't buy it, so you bought it anyway?
So I'm gonna lean on Jake here, because we joke about Jake's microphone and his microphone thing, which he'll probably talk about in detail. Where Jake is the way he is with his microphone, I am about my camera. When as a streamer and as a visual podcaster and all that stuff, I've got a good mic. I love my mic. I've had it for years. It's a Razer mic, so me and my obsession with Razer, it fits perfectly for the motif. And I've got a Razer cam that I like, but it's not Jake's cam. Jake's got a really nice cam, but it's a camera. It's actual camera that costs. Those cameras cost a lot of money, not whatever. But I don't have $7K to drop on a camera for streaming.
Oh, dude,
you know what I mean? Like, so
I know what you're saying.
Trying to find some kind of camera that is just going to be good enough for it. And when I look at myself on here, I'm like, I can see all the grain. I can see this, that, and the other. It's hard to adjust, but it's not bad. It's good. It's a great camera. It works great for green screen. It's got 60 frames. It's not a problem. But I also had a 2070 super card, that video card that I had been using since I bought. Well, no, it's been 3 or 4 years since I got the new card, and it works great for everything I have. But it's not the best thing out there. There's better stuff out there that I could be using to upgrade my stuff. And as a streamer, I want to constantly keep my PC up to snuff so that I can stream and play the high-end games, so that they're not fighting with each other. Because I noticed as better games were coming out, my PC was chugging a little bit. Doing VR with anything with this and streaming it, very difficult to do. So my wife now has the 2070, and she's playing her games on it. They look spectacular, and she loves it. She's super happy. I got a 4070 Ti Super that I'm absolutely in love with, but didn't actually really, really needed to get. But because it was newer to the world, and it pumps out amazing graphical content. And Sinistar gives me this shit all the time, because I'm like, I want my stream to look like it looks like on my PC, and I can't do that because of transcoding. It's just not possible. You can't see what I see. So, but as long as I'm looking at it, and it's that whole ignorance is bliss, right? Looks good on my channel, so it must look good on there, until you review the stream and you're like, oh God, it's all pixelated. But that's transcoding. I can't do anything about that. So my video camera has always been a hang up. Whenever a new one comes out that promises all this shit, I will impulse buy a video camera to put on there, just because I want it to look good. And I use a green screen, so there's no reason to have Jake's camera when the background. The only time you see my background typically is during the podcast.
Right.
And 9 times out of 10, the podcast is listened to, not watched. So,
right. Well, we're front and center as an audio podcast, but we started doing YouTube over a year ago, and I'm glad we did, because we have a nice audience on YouTube as well as audio. And the video component is good. First off, with my camera, dude, it is not a $7,000 camera. It's not
I'm not
cheap.
saying it is. I'm just
No,
the ones
but
that I'm looking at are like,
oh no, I know. Like there's a few times where even I've looked at cameras because my wife, she went to college for photojournalism and she's all into cameras. Her and her dad were huge into buying lenses. When she tells me what her dad spent on lenses back in his heyday, I'm like, fucking dying. My wallet is killing me, and I didn't pay for anything. Cameras are expensive, especially solid DSLR cameras are so expensive, and the lenses are even more so. The camera I got a camera a couple of years ago for her. It's the Nikon D5600. It's like a entry level DSLR. Although I didn't know that at the time, but it's not a full frame camera, so it actually doesn't work with a lot of the lenses that she already had, and that's kind of a headache. So I bought her a camera. It's not a bad camera, but it's not as good as the high-end camera that was a hand-me-down she got from her dad from like 10 years ago. Because the Fuji that she had before, which is probably ancient nowadays, but when it comes to pictures, it's a full frame, looks fantastic, it works with library lenses, and it looks amazing. The camera I bought it for Christmas doesn't use the same lenses, or it does, but they're not as good quality, or it doesn't focus right.
right.
And it's not full frame, so it doesn't take the advantage of the nice lenses. So it's a camera that she doesn't really need, unfortunately. But I didn't know that. I did my best, best intentions. But it was collecting dust. Well, I mean, it was collecting dust. Nobody was using it. So I'm like, do you mind if I use it for this? And she's like, you're taking pictures? No.
Sure.
I found it's a camera that's not even meant to take video. Like a lot of DSLRs, and I found this out a couple years ago, a lot of DSLR cameras, in order to avoid being taxed as video camcorders, have an auto shut off when it comes to the video functions. So a lot of DSLRs you get can't record or can't record video for more than 30 minutes. But with this particular camera, I found that you can hack it a bit. Originally I was using a rubber band. Now I'm actually using a switch, but you keep the shutter open and the shutter keeps the thing from auto shutting off. So it's great for a podcast, but if I try and stream with this more than 3 hours, I'm probably going to break it. So I don't. But it's a hacky way of getting this to work, but it looks great because it's a DSLR and it has a nice lens, right? But like I had that same issue with webcams. I was the same thing, dude. I had a Logitech C920, like fucking everybody when they first started streaming. Everyone when they started streaming got a C920, and they usually got a Blue Yeti or an AT2020.
Yeah, I got a C920 right here.
Yeah, guaranteed. And it's not like they're bad, right? But I mean, now that I've kind of gotten into audio a lot more, and I'm not a snob with it, but I really appreciate different microphones, and I'm listening to different categories of price ranges of microphones. Same thing with webcams. I realize with webcams, you get a $100 webcam or you get a $300 webcam. Yes, there's a quality improvement, but it's almost worth it just to spend the $600-$700 and get a DSLR and go from there. Like instead of spending $300 on a 4K webcam, spend an extra $300 and get a DSLR that'll last you 10, 20 years. And it's the same thing with microphones, right? Like I had the AT2020, which I still love the sound of that microphone, but it's a condenser and it picks up background noise and echo like you would not fucking believe. And when I moved a couple years ago, for those who listen to the podcast, there's a period where I had echo and it was driving me nuts. And I needed a dynamic microphone because they're better at background rejection. So I bought a Short MV7. It's the same microphone that Cinestar uses. It's a fantastic microphone and it's like less than 300 Canadian. It's great. It's good. I should have been happy. But then I listened to YouTube videos, and there's a guy named Bandrew on Podcastage on YouTube, and I love his channel. And all he does is review microphones, dozens of microphones. And I keep hearing people like Joe Rogan is on his fucking SM7B, which is like the podcast microphone.
Right.
So for a hot minute, I'm like, how much is that going to cost me? It's like, well, it's only like $600 Canadian. So anyway. And listen to the quality difference. I could hear a difference, and I really wanted a nice end game microphone, a microphone where I'm never gonna want for anything else. And I settled on the RE2020 or RE20, sorry, Electro Voice RE20, which is like a broadcast microphone, and I fucking love it. It cost me $600. It's not cheap, but podcasting is like the hobby I take seriously. And like I've seen people in their hobbies, like my wife, she does dragon boat racing. She has a $400 paddle. It's a carbon fiber fucking paddle, but that's her hobby and she takes it seriously. So like, fine. Like if it's your hobby and it's serious, then I don't care so much. For me, it's the things like games, where if I'm buying games that I think games and hardware that I regret. So is there any hardware that you regret? Because the video card you use, like, come on.
my
I mean, you don't
Logitech,
need it, but you use it.
my Logitech 922C camera that I have
You
up
bought
here.
one? Did you buy one of those? Okay.
I did. I bought it I bought it a while back, and then for my birthday one year, there's a razor store that opened up in Seattle, and I was so freaking excited about it because you know me, razor's my jam. So I was like, oh, we're gonna go to the razor store. And my wife took me for my birthday, and I stumbled upon this. I can't remember the name of this particular cam that I
Keo.
have now, but it's a razor cam. And it had 60 frames, so and 60 frames works absolutely wonderfully. It doesn't clear up the background as much as I'd like, and there's some things about it that I don't love, but it's a good camera, and it was like $170. Like, it wasn't
Yeah.
breaking the bank or anything. So I picked it up, and at first I was like, "Yeah, this is all right." I was like, whatever. I think my 922C is probably better, but I don't want to tell her that because it was a gift. So I'm going to try and figure this thing out. And the more I tweaked it, the more I adjust it and run it on the green screen, I looked back at it, I was like, "Damn, this is a really good camera for what I'm trying to use it for. This is fantastic." So I just used the 922 to either loan it to her or it goes traveling with me in other places. And this one sits on my camera arm on my tripod with the extended camera arm that I just purchased. My hodgepodge of my desk that I've been trying to do, like you and I take our streaming and our podcasting, I think, exceptionally seriously. This is my hobby. This is what I like to do. And I want to have top of the line gear, like you said, in game
Yeah.
gear, right? Like, I don't want to look at my microphone and be like, might be time to upgrade. This is the one microphone like yours. This is the one microphone that I've had forever that I've never
Yeah.
looked at and said, I think I need a new one because it sounds great. It works good.
Right.
I've got great filters on it that I think work good. And then you do your magic afterwards, like running my fan in the background the last time we did it. When you and I did that episode together, I didn't hear it at all. And I was literally stressing that you were going to hear that buzz every time I talk because my gate will shut it out. But when I'm talking, it opens up and you can hear everything going on in the background. So there's different things I can do to make my mic better that doesn't involve me buying a $300 to $600 mic for me,
Yeah.
which is fine. But I got a new desk. I mean, I got 3
Right.
monitors here. I'm trying to make it so everything flows and it's easier to be a streamer in this space. And I feel like one when I do it. So shit, I'm upgrading the background. I'm trying to add new gaming consoles and new things there to make me look more legit. But you don't see it when I stream because I got a fucking green screen.
Green screen. Yeah.
Yeah, it's silly. All this is for podcasts. Like, everything you see behind me, my Final Fantasy VI collage, my Funkos, my gaming stuff. This is just for the podcast and for myself. 9 times out of 10, when I'm playing in here and I'm not streaming, lights are out. Maybe some lights, maybe some of my LEDs are on, but this is for you guys. All of this is for you guys. So,
Unless you're an audio listener, in which case you don't care. It's fine.
too bad.
Yeah, like there's definitely a point of no, like there's a point of, what do you call it, where just it doesn't matter anymore. Like, it plateaus in terms of audio quality, and like I have no issue with your guys' mics. Your mics are all fucking amazing. You don't need to buy a $600 microphone. I'm just stupid. Like I said, it's one of those dumbass things.
You are passionate about your hobby and and what you want to do, and it makes you happy. Yeah. That's not stupid. That's drive. That's good. It's not like I see it hanging from the ceiling with like duct tape, and it's just, you know.
Well, I've done some of that before.
Music video.
But yeah, I'm fine with the microphone purchase. But I bought an Elgato face cam. There's a couple of YouTubers, I'm not gonna name them, but they really rated with the Elgato face cam. I'm pretty sure after the fact they got a fucking paycheck, because when I got the Elgato face cam, it's trash. I'd rather my old C920, because at least with the C920 and the right lighting, it doesn't have the fuzzies in the background. Whereas the face cam, it just, no matter what I do, it's fuzzy. It comes bundled with like a software that has a filter for sharpness, but it dumbs it down so it blurs it, so it avoids the fuzzies. But if you don't have the sharpness on, you look like shit. It's the worst thing I bought in years. I'll never recommend an Elgato face cam ever to anybody. They make other good stuff. Like I mean, I love the Stream Deck, sorry, but I'll never recommend their fucking cameras. It's the thing with some of their microphones. There's a few other companies that make audio hardware where it's like less hardware and more software. Which, if you're gonna spend $300 on a microphone, fucking, I want good hardware. Like, that's why I like the Shure MV7 so much that Sinistar and I were using. That's it has software, but you don't need it. It sounds fucking amazing as a microphone. It's great out of the box.
Right.
The software just helps you with certain tweaking, but you don't need it. So I mean, it's the Beacon microphone that I almost bought. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. But the one hardware I kind of regret buying now, and it's for my use case, is I have a Mister. It runs on the arcade machine behind me, or that way.
Yep.
Cameras are hard. I love the Mister. Fucking love it. It's up there with my top 5 devices of all time. Like I've joked before, of the devices I've bought, my top 3 the last 15 years that I can't do without and I love, Mister, freaking the Steam Deck, and my CPAP machine. Those are the 3 things that are amazing for me.
Hey,
But I did recently buy, and it's definitely it's the king of FOMO, and it's the Analog Pocket. Which where is
that
this
the
fucking
pocket?
thing?
Oh Jesus! So
Hold
let me premise this first. When Jake's asked if he should get it, all of us said no. Every single one of us was like, "No, dude, don't do it."
Like, so you know why I wanted this fucking thing? It's not a bad device. It's not.
It's not.
It's
It
not.
looks like a Game Boy. It's cool.
Yeah. And the screen is fucking amazing. And it sucks that I'm having to convince people the screen is amazing. The screen is amazing. But you know what's also amazing screen?
Steam
The
Deck.
freaking the Steam Deck I got, which is the OLED
You got
model,
an
which OLED
OLED
screens
too.
it looks so good. The OLED screen looks so good color-wise. And it's also 7 inches. It's huge compared to the Analog Pocket. The Analog Pocket screen is super high resolution, but it's tiny by design, and I get it. The reason that it's a good device is that it's an FPGA device, which means it runs emulated games so fucking accurately, very minimal input lag. It's like the Mister, but it's in your pocket. And I do use it. I do like it. When I'm going out of the house, for example, it fits my pocket. So I'll take it with me and play games. The Steam Deck does not leave my house. Some of the device, I'm worried it's going to break if I drop it. It's very big. It's in the house. Whether it's down here or upstairs, it travels within my house. And that's fine. But the Analog Pocket does not get nearly as much use as I thought. Yes, pretty much. My kids like, can I play the Steam Deck on the TV? Yes. Well, can I bring it in my bedroom? Fuck no.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
It does not undock for you. You can take the Nintendo Switch, drop the Switch. I don't give a fuck anymore. Nintendo's already got my money. But yeah, I have serious disappointment with the Analog Pocket. And I bought it in part because the screen was very cool when I first saw it 2 fucking years ago. Because Analog as a company, they like to announce hardware and they hype the shit out of it. They're very good at hyping things up. The quality is pretty decent for what it is. They definitely know to source their parts. They use 8-bit dough for their controllers. They're always solid controllers.
Yeah.
But they only manufacture like X number of units. And then it's impossible to get them. You have to wake up in the morning for the time of the day when the website's going to be live. You have to put up with the website being DDoSed by fans rapidly trying to click refresh to buy a goddamn unit. And you can never get one. And for the Pocket was especially, it's their only handheld device. They made a bunch of home consoles, which I've passed on for the most part. But the handheld's the first one. Nothing else like it out there. That's FPGA. And it was reasonably priced at, I think it was like $299 when it first came out, which for that kind of device is reasonable. Their shipping is another thing. But I couldn't get one. I tried multiple rounds, and it's like when the finally got to the point where I could have gotten one, but the wait time to get it would have been like 2 years. So I'm going to give them $300 of my fucking money for them to sit on for 2 years before they ship me a device? Fuck no. So I ignored it. I actually blocked them on Twitter. I was so angry at them. That's how angry I was. And then I saw they announced that they were doing a new release of them. I'm like, what? They're still releasing that thing? Okay. And like they've released it in multiple colors and different shells. And anyway, if you want a Pocket, you can go out and buy one, and you'll probably get it right away, which is like good on them, I guess. 2.5 years later. I mean, everybody who wants one's got one. But I think 2 years ago, I would have liked it a lot more. Now, not so much. So I'm almost on the verge of selling it, but I don't want to do that because I might take a loss on it. So I don't know, but
That's fine.
I don't know. The only other topic I want to touch on real quick was VR. Do you feel any FOMO with VR? Because you went all in on the Vive, right?
I did. I love my VR. I love it, and I wish I used it more. I wish I had more time to use it. Again, it has nothing to do with not wanting to use it because it works fantastic. And I just got for free, there's a Half-Life 2 VR mod that I picked up that I have not had an opportunity to play with yet, but it's on here. Whenever I strap the VR on and I do something on it, I always have so much fucking fun playing it. So I don't look at it and go, damn, man, what a waste. I go, man, I wish I just had some more time, because it takes a while to set it up. You got to put it on, you got to clear your room, you got to make sure it's not too hot so you don't pass out because it gets warm. There's a lot that goes into just doing
Yeah.
VR. You got to pick a game you want to play, and then you got to be committed to it. And when people come in, there's nothing worse than when your wife comes in and needs your help with something, and you're like, "What? Okay, I'll be there in a minute."
Yeah.
And then you put it back on, and then you hear the tip tapping again. You're like, "What? What do you want?" And you said you were going to help me 30 minutes ago. It's been 3 hours. Oh shit. Okay, yeah, you're right. And then you take it off, and you got to turn everything off. So my only regret is not having the time to play it or to invest into it as much as I'd like to, because there is some
Yeah.
awesome shit on there, and I do not regret buying that one iota.
Yeah, like I was big on VR in the beginning when Oculus first had the Kickstarter for the dev kit. I bought one of those. Did not regret that because it was really cool, one of a kind. Fucking, as far as I'm concerned, gaming history. I still have it. It's on a shelf. I did buy the CV1, which is their first consumer unit. That when I bought that, I enjoyed it, even though the screen was basically looking through a screen door, right? That's that kind of effect. But I was fine with it. I was happy with it. But there wasn't a lot of games, and that was my disappointing thing with it. I did recently buy, well, not recently, 2 years ago, I bought the Quest 2, or a year and a half ago, I bought the Quest 2. I do like that quite a bit. The screen's fantastic. The controls are great. It's a great device, but I'm only disappointed, and I only regret it because there isn't that many VR games, really. It's mostly exercise titles, which, hey, I probably could use a few, but there isn't much in the way of games. Like, I feel like Sony and the PSVR got a lot of the games that I wish were on the Quest. I mean, some of them eventually come out for Steam, and I can use the Quest with Steam, which is fantastic. But I feel like there's just not a market for VR games like I was hoping to be. 10 years after it came out, it's just not where I thought it was. I thought it'd be like revolutionary. It really hasn't done anything.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Playing Half-Life Alyx is like putting you into another world, but the problem is that Half-Life Alyx is so well done that it makes all the other VR games look like garbage. And it's you can't, and that's what everybody starts with because that's what you see. And when you buy the Steam, the Valve Index, that's the first game you get for free with it. So of course you're gonna pop on, and it's Half-Life. Most people love Half-Life.
right.
Maybe not present company included, but I mean, it's a good series. It's fun, and putting that in VR, and you're climbing and shooting, and there's nothing cooler than ducking behind something, like physically actually ducking behind something with your body, and then pretending to cock your gun and put the clip in and doing all the motions like you're doing it, and then taking someone out. You feel awesome, So it's a lot of fun. It's so time consuming to set up, and trying to stream, do a podcast, and have a family and a job. It's just difficult to find any kind of time in there to wiggle that in. Because if I take a week off to do me stuff, that me stuff is usually house stuff or
I hear
hanging
that.
out with the wife, which is not. I want to make that perfectly clear. I love hanging out with my wife. We have a great time everywhere we go. But there are times where she wants to go play Hogwarts Legacy or something, and I want to come in here and do whatever. And we've got 2 puppies we're still raising, so it's like having children. It's just life is hard to keep under control to VR sometimes.
Yeah, I have a serious lack of free time. I have 3 kids, so thankfully, a couple of them are older now, and they can help raise the younger one. But I mean, I still have very limited free time in a day. I get maybe 40 minutes to myself some days. So I mean, my thing is the podcast. I mean, all I do free time is podcast stuff, and if it's not podcast adjacent, I don't end up doing it. Like, I mean, hell, I'm playing Alan Wake because we're going to do an episode on it, and I'm loving Alan Wake. I should have played it years ago.
Great game.
It is great, but I mean, I'd always passed on it because I'm like, well, I got other stuff to play. So anyway, I think that's probably an episode. Chard, is there anything else you want to talk about? Touch on?
No,
I think we covered.
On that vein of, because it's podcast adjacent, this podcast has kept me more on course for a lot of games that I've wanted to finish. So I have to thank you guys for that. Like, I actually, as much as we joke with you about the Sisyphean thing and all that stuff, I actually look forward to it because I commit myself to getting things done. And as a wannabe completionist, I'm like, hey, if I do it for Sisyphean, not only do I get to talk about it in an episode, but it gives me an excuse to finish it because it's like homework that's fun. So that's kind of the reason why I've been doing the Sisyphean stretch goal all year is because, hey, I'm going to use this opportunity to keep playing stuff that I want to finish. So
Yeah. Well, for sure. Like getting the ability to talk about the games we're playing is fun, right? Like I loved talking about Baldur's Gate 3, but I knew when we did that episode, which was great, but I knew once we got to that episode, if I hadn't beaten Baldur's Gate 3, I wasn't going to. So, and it's true because once you've talked about it, you're like, okay, I should go back and play it, but then there's the next thing to do. I mean, that's the problem with content creation, right? You want to, whatever you're doing, you want to put toward content creation, but learning to enjoy games for being games has been hard when you have a lack of free time. The Steam Deck definitely helps because there's no streaming that, and I can play that with my wife upstairs or with my kids. But it's been interesting. But I mean, Sisyphean goals. I mean, my last 2-year goals have not been great. Although I did beat Final Fantasy VII Remake mostly because of the stream or with the podcast. I wouldn't have played it otherwise because you guys talked about it a lot. So there's always that too. But I don't know. For those who are listening to this episode, you got to the end. I want to know what games or systems or consoles or controllers or hardware did you buy that you kind of regret? That maybe you bought for FOMO. Maybe we influenced you and we talked you into buying a game. I hope that's not the case. And it's a game you regret. But I'm sure there's a game that you've purchased on Steam or on Switch and you just never play it. I think it's a common problem, right? The backlog, right? Especially in today's day and age. So I want to hear, make sure you put in the comments below or join us on our Discord. If you want links to everything we do, go to pressbtocancel.com or pressb.org, at least for this year. You can check us out in audio on all your favorite podcast platforms, or you can, of course, check us out on YouTube at pressbtocancel. We have a new episode live on YouTube every Friday at 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific, or you can check the audio episode out on the following Monday. Chard, you want to tell folks where they can find you? You still stream, right?
Yeah, I do stream. Actually, we've been getting back into the groove. Jake mentioned it. We finished Dark Souls 3, all DLC and all bosses a couple weekends ago. Whenever this was airs, it'll be probably a month or so ago. So that was pretty neat. And we're jumping back into Elden Ring because DLC. So FOMO bought it as soon as they talked about it. So you'll be seeing me playing that at some point. And then Jake and I have been trying to come up with episodes to talk about amongst the team, and he and I have been chasing down Nier Automata and Alan Wakes and all kinds of stuff. So pretty much anything that we talk about on here, you're going to start seeing me play live throughout the rest of the year. So you have that to look forward to. So tell us
almost
about
Elden Ring. Almost bought the DLC.
Almost. Don't worry. He'll watch me play the first couple minutes of it, or has watched me play the first couple minutes of it, and it might convince him. It should be a good time. But tell us about the Wulongs or the the bad ports that you purchased that you were waiting for PS5 to give to you, and you went and bought Last of Us Remake, and it was unplayable for some reason, or the 8-bit duo controller that's the Power Glove. Like, tell us about the things that you were like, I had to have it when it came out, and you were like, I wish I didn't have to have it.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, folks. Well, I think that's been another week, another episode. Thanks everybody for watching.